Hey, you have Patrick Findaro here, co-founder at Vetted Biz. Very excited to have on Marc Goodin, who's the CEO of Storage Authority. Marc is a civil engineer by trade with over 40 years of experience. And during much of his career, majority of his career, he's been specifically focused on designing and building out storage facilities for other. And then over the past few years, he's been doing it for himself. And now for 5 or so years, also working with franchisees under his brand Storage Authority. So Marc, really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks, Patrick. It's my pleasure. I just love self-storage and I love to help people build things. So it's an awesome business.
You're a builder, and I think there's parallels with people that like to build things, and you're building a brand, you're building physical assets. So probably everything's coming around in your world.
Yeah, it's just for me that it's. I don't even have a job. I don't even go to work. I'm on vacation and I'm at work every day, so it's perfect.
That's great. Yeah, some people it takes years and years to find their calling. It seems like thankfully you found it pretty early on and stuck course. Tell us a little bit. You went to college out west, and then you came back to Connecticut, I believe. Practice as a civil engineer. Maybe you could give us a little information on your career trajectory and how that transition happened into the self-storage in your current role now.
Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. I was a young engineer in my 20s. I just recently graduated from college, and an individual came into our office and wanted a self-storage design. And I said, I'm happy to help you, but I'm really not sure. And back in '83, who knew what a self-storage was? So he took me for a drive, showed me what he had, and he said he wanted to build a second one. And I said, great. That was a long time ago. And after the years went by, I would design more and more. And after a while, I got known in the state of Connecticut. So I was doing a lot of self-storage designs for people. It was actually fun because not a lot of people were doing that. And then, I noticed that, the guys that were having the most fun, the guys that were going, out fishing, the guys that were going out boating, doing whatever they like to do, that was the self-storage group. All the other people had to go back to work because, you had to work 60 hours a week like I was doing in my engineering practice to make a living. But these guys, nope, they had self-storage. They had a manager in there. Of course, back then it was a lot easier now because back then it was just build it and they would come. You could build it anywhere because there was no self-storages.
No marketing.
Yeah. Now it takes...
I listened to another podcast you were on. It was like really, most of it was just marketing for self-storage. So it seems like times have really changed and it's become important to attract the clients.
Yeah, there's a lot more self-storages out there. So you got to do sales and marketing. You got to have a right location. You can't build it in the backwoods. You got to be on a main street. So, it takes about 16 to 20 ideas to find a good location. We check out, all those points to determine, is this location good? And so that's how it started way back in '83. And then eventually, later years in 2008, right during our depression, the recession, the banking recession, I built my first self-storage, people thought I was...
Did you start it like when the sky was falling or?
Well, I started a little bit maybe before the sky was falling. And then, it fell apart during the first one, but 1 year later, I built my second one right in the middle.
Oh, wow.
So I had 2 self-storages with 8.5% interest rates. It's the best thing I ever did because, these things go up and down. If I had waited and said, hey, I'll wait till the prices come down, it would have been 2 or 3 years maybe. But I was set. I stopped the competition for the area. It's just like now. Now's a great time for self-storage. Yes, there's inflation. Yes, there's, this and that. But you wait, you're just going to lose out. So I learned that lesson.
It seems like COVID's helped it, where people are super mobile. Like we're both based in Florida, but as you mentioned, you're right now in Canada. I travel extensively, working from my laptop. So if you're in between homes, in between apartments, the storage really comes in handy.
Yeah, self-storage, was greatly affected by COVID. We have our highest rental rates, and we have our highest percentage full. Self-storage has never been so full across the U.S., and the rates have never been this high, just because, like you said, people are more mobile in many, many different ways and different mindset. So, we've got great opportunities right now in self-storage because of COVID.
And what are the costs for someone that's looking to get it in the self-storage space, whether it's with Storage Authority or opening up their own independent storage business?
Well, there's two different mindsets. There's some people out there that go and build a small self-storage. It's a side business. Maybe it's on an acre and they build 100 units.
Okay.
So you can build something for $500,000, $1 million, but it's not going to replace your career. And it's not going to have a large resale value. It's just going to have a small resale value compared to what it took you to build, because there's not a lot of buyers out there, big corporate buyers that are pretty much overpaying for something.
It would be someone else like you that has a career and is looking for kind of a side hustle to have another income stream.
And is it really worth the effort is questionable. So what we do at Storage Authority is we build facilities that are 50,000 square feet and larger. Somewhere between 50 and 100,000 square feet. That way, they're large enough for the corporate companies, the REITs like Public Storage or Life Storage, to come in and buy them, and they'll pay premium rates for them. And because if you have a manager and a sign, all that overhead on a small facility is significant. But the bigger the facility gets, the more efficient it gets. So if you build something over 50,000 to 100,000 square feet. And I'm going to give you a big range in profits. It's somewhere between $200,000 a year to $1 million a year, depending on how big it is and where you build. Some places have lower rental rates because there's a lot of competition. Some places have higher rental rates because there's no competition.
And from the time a franchisee starts with Storage Authority, how long does it take to find the site, execute the lease, start the build out, and then get that first dollar in to the bank, that first customer in?
Yeah, and that's there's two downfalls that I'll tell you right now to self-storage for a lot of people.
Yeah.
One, if you're going to build that facility that we're talking about of 50 to 100,000, it takes $1 million of your own cash to go borrow the rest from the bank. So that's one.
Sure.
The other thing is it takes time, approximately 2 years before your store, 2 to 3 years even before your store opens. And I'll explain that real quickly. So it takes you, let's say it takes you 3 years to become a multimillionaire because your store is worth, 40% more than what you built to what it costs to build. So you're a multimillionaire the day it opens. So to me, it's not a long time frame, but some people, they're looking at a franchise or something. They need a paycheck now versus something for the rest of their lives and the next generation. So
you see the people that are getting into the space, they probably have a net worth of say $5 million, and they have at least $1 million that is liquid that they can allocate to this business.
Well, they a lot of them are maybe have a net worth of 2 million, not 5 million.
Okay, yeah.
They could have a net worth of 1.5 million and do this business, as long as they got $1 million cash, plus or minus. So you asked about the time frames. The toughest time frame to define is finding the land, and that is somewhere between 0, because you have it, and 12 months because you don't spend Saturdays looking for land. You spend 1 hour a week and you let your realtor find your land. So if you're a go-getter, you find land in 6 months. So somewhere between 6 and 12 months to 0 to 6 months to 12 months to find land. And then you've got to design it and get it approved. That's about 6 months. And then you've got to build it. That's about 8 months. So putting it all together, it's about 2 years. Most people that get in this business are go-getters. So they find land in 6 or 7 months and then design it in 6 or 7 months and then build it 8 or 9 months.
I think we've had guests on the podcast before, founders of preschool systems, and there's definitely some parallels where it's a high initial capital investment, and it takes 2 years, 18 months to get the school open. But I guess a big benefit operating a preschool is complicated. You're dealing with 30 teachers, administration, 200 plus kids. Where for this model, like what's the headcount look like?
Yeah, so you got a manager Monday through Friday, and then you got a second manager for the weekend. And then you use vendors for everything else. You use a vendor to mow the lawn, and you buy your boxes from vendors. So eventually you have a third employee. When you get some of these employees take another job, you keep them on as a fill-in employee. So usually you have those two employees and one that can just fill in. Mom that says, "Hey, I don't work every day, but somebody's on vacation, I'll work for a week." So that's the beauty of it. There's no toilets, nothing to paint, nobody, to evict is 30 days and it's simple. Put an auction up online. So that is the beauty of it, is that, it takes a lot less of your time. You can get away with no time, but we recommend, if you want to, make more profits than anybody else out there, you spend 6 hours a week, and that's coaching your manager and helping your manager with the sales and marketing and following our process.
And I mean, there's a lot of REITs in the space and billions of dollars that have gone to investing in self storage. Why aren't they developing ground up? Is it the localized knowledge, or why aren't they doing this from the ground up and purchasing existing self storage?
Well, there's a difference between us and them. A lot of them have $100 million, $200, $300 million, $1 billion in their fund, and they want to spend it fast. They don't make any returns on that. It was almost given to them for free in a sense. It's not costing them a penny for it to sit in the bank. So they want to spend as much money as fast.
And they're happy with a lower return too, right? 6%, 7%, 8%.
Well, they're happy with a lower return that actually starts at 0% the first year. Okay. But the second year, every year we can raise our rates 2 to 3% higher than inflation. So if they made 0 the first year, 2% the next year, then 5, then 7, then 10, then 11. So these self-storages aren't making 10% profit. They're making 40% profit once they've been open for a while. In fact, the profit is infinity, because there's nobody that I know that's had a self-storage open for 5 years that hasn't refinanced and taken their $1 million back out, or taken $2 million back out. So you got to be smart about it. You can't build where it doesn't make sense, but I'm talking about, doing it right.
So besides like gut, and I mean, you just must have all this knowledge accumulated over the last 40 years that you can do drive-bys, and you probably have some other data that you're collecting as well, but you can feel if it's the right spot. What like data, what indicators do you look at, or should people be looking at to judge if a site or even that specific zip code might be a good fit for a self-storage facility?
Well, here's your goal as a self-storage. Your goal is to rent up fast at premium rates. That's your goal. So the first thing you can do is, go online, go visit the self-storages nearby. Are they full? And are they charging premium rates? And then if you got a sales and marketing plan like us, we know we charge 30% more than the top guy in the community. So that's one thing you can look at. Now, a lot of people use 8 square feet of self-storage per person in the 3-mile radius as a point of equilibrium, because that's what we have in the United States right now, and they're all full. So now there's actually websites out there. You type in an address, and it'll tell you, right now at this neighborhood, at this address in 3-mile radius, there's 20 square feet of self-storage per person. Well, that's a lot more than 8.
That's too much.
So it's too much. It's way past. And if it comes in at 1, man, you've got a gold mine. Move faster on this piece of property. But it's also related to the population, because if there's no self-storage in the 3-mile radius, and there's only 50 people because you're in the middle of Florida and the Everglades, it doesn't make sense either. So you got to look at the square foot per person and what the population is. Because just to give you an example, the population is 10,000, and we use 8 as equilibrium. We could go 8 times 10. We could build 80,000 square feet there. Now, if there's 90,000 square foot already built, there's no demand So, we're talking about how much self-storage is needed in a given location. And the apps are out there that tells us how much self-storage is in that area and also what's in the pipeline, submitted to the town. So we have the data out there to determine if it's a good fit.
How do you know the pipeline? Do you pull the records on like who's getting permission to build a self-storage facility in a certain city?
Right, exactly. You talk to the planning department and you get what's either been designed and approved or what's in the pipeline, being that it's in front of the commission. Because
and you know exactly how many units there are, and there's going to be a buffer of 2 years. If you build today and there's zero plans, there's going to be some time where you're somewhat protected at the rates, I'd imagine.
Right. Yeah. So what we do is a mini feasibility study that puts all this together. And here's the funny thing. 5 years ago, that mini feasibility study used to take literally 2.5 days, 8-hour days to do. Now you can do it in 2 hours on your laptop because the apps, the information's all there. Industries have sprouted to support us in our self-storage development. So now we can find it all online real quick. Of course, once you do that, you got to go visit the site, make sure that everything that's written. They didn't include a boat storage in the RV number or in the self-storage numbers. But now you can go through a lot of sites. Don't even make an offer because you can throw them to the wayside. So it's actually much faster now to find land than it's ever been because of the process of reviewing it. And the first time right about now, commercial land pricing is going down because people are reading the tea leaves. They priced it before COVID because they thought it was going up. They never took it down, but now they figured it out. It's got to come down if you want to sell it.
We're on Miami Beach and it's 20% of the shops on Lincoln Road must be unoccupied. And right. It's just there's one whole block. It's just, I think rents have been super high and they've got to come down. So,
Yep. So that's another reason it's a good time to build now is because, you can land. We offered property was for sale for 1.7. One of our franchisees, he offered $1 million and they took it.
And the build out, is it a lot of module or how does the build out work and how do you help the franchisee kind of navigate that process?
Well, we help them by putting together the design criteria. There's a lot of things. I mean, we put a 10 by 20 unit right in every office. Most self-storages don't do that, but we are designing our self-storage specifically for the absentee owner. And when things do go wrong, like the manager can't make it to work, we want it set up that there's a kiosk there so they can still rent. Because typically, when my manager didn't come to work when I built my first self-storage, I'd be there in an instant. I'd give up my engineering job and go work at self-storage. That was what was key for me. But now, I don't feel like going. My manager could be gone for a week and I'll say, let him use the kiosk. Life changes. But we design them and make sure they have the important things, both for the owners, both for the managers, and for the renters. So that's how we do it. And we actually review the final product that they put together. Because they sometimes it's a young engineer designing these things and they don't get checked well. Sometimes we have 6 comments, sometimes we have 6 pages of comments. So you just don't know what's going to be on your plans until you review it.
And it seems like just the whole labor component. I mean, there's no franchise that would yield that much EBITDA. I can't think of an industry in franchising that you have 2 or 3 employees and contractors. And we're seeing what's happened in California where there's now a minimum wage in the 20s for fast food workers. That could happen in other states. So it's nice that you don't have to worry much about labor costs and it's a minimal amount to control.
Yeah. And better than that, we start open 7 days a week. And then after a while, we close on Sundays. And then after a while more, we close on Saturdays. And we have a kiosk that they can rent, or they can rent online and they'll get their code, they can get in and do everything. So, you're seeing more and more self-storages that, are just open 40 hours instead of 60 or 70. So it just getting better. People are getting used to kiosks and renting on their phone.
And I saw your value stack super tight where it's you provide all these services, guarantees, full satisfaction. Is that whole value stack allows you to charge a 30% premium and to keep the margins high for the franchisees? Or are there other things that go into that?
No, but it's all of that, including the design that allows us to be the Ritz versus Motel 6.
Oh, okay.
So our model is we have to actually reject some people because no matter how much I talk to them, they say, I'm going to charge the lowest in town and fill up the fastest. Doesn't matter. There's only you can charge nothing. People don't put their stuff in self-storage unless they need to.
Yeah.
So it's unless you go way out of bounds, it's six is up down on the list. Price is down sixth on the list. So those people, we don't even let them in because they want to be Motel 6. So it's all those things, how to provide over the top customer service. Our managers have to open the front door. They have to call you by name 3 times, and they have to show a unit. Go to 6 self-storages tomorrow, and I'll give you $100 if all 6 of them do that. In fact, I'll give you $100 if half of them do all 3 of those things, because I know not a one of them will match those 3 things, and you're going to feel better if somebody did that for you. And that's
for sure. And you'll tell your friends that have a similar lifestyle and need self-storage.
Right, and that's just the start of it. Those 3 things. We have 100 things that make our self-storages different. We're not in the self-storage business. We're not in the real estate business. We have the benefits of those 2, but we're in the people business. We're in the people business. You walk into our facility, on every one of our facility on the wall is a sign. It's either a stencil or hand painted, and it says, welcome. May you enter as I forget the name of it. May you enter as guests and leave as friends. And our managers point that out. Welcome. May you enter as guests and leave as friends. That's our attitude. We're here to help, not to sell you, self-storage.
And it's not something that it's like kind of like going to the dentist. People aren't looking forward to go to their self-storage facility. They might be in between moves or helping a loved one. So, I guess every little bit extra of comfort goes a long way.
Yeah. Self-storage for 90% of the people, it's a very stressful time in their life. And that's why they need self-storage. Somebody died. Yeah. They're moving. When you're moving your house, all of a sudden you don't care about eating dinner out every night and paying for it and doing all. You're just moving. It's a big event and you spend money. It's the same thing in self-storage. It's not the price. It's what's outside of the 4 walls, not what's inside the 4 walls. How nice can you be to help these people?
In your pre-marketing efforts, I was listening to one of the other podcasts you were on, funeral homes, other referral sources. Can you tell us a little bit more about those pre-marketing initiatives, Mark?
Yeah, we do a lot
pre-opening initiatives, I should say.
Yeah, we do a lot of marketing. We try to be the community hometown self-storages. Our managers are allowed to work 4 hours off property for any nonprofit they want in town. We pay them 4 hours.
Great.
4 hours a month. Our marketing is if whatever their kids are at baseball or softball, bring a bushel of apples, bring the 2 20 packs of water, and give them out to both teams. Just put our little banner over your table. So it's a lot of guerrilla marketing that we do. Our managers once a week go out and just hand out something like rulers or sunflower seeds with our name on them to the local business people. We had Memorial Day, and my daughter was 14 years old. We probably had 2,000 little mini flags. She just handed those out, courtesy of Coventry Self-Storage, courtesy of our self-storage. People remember that when you're part of the community. In the beginning, you have more units than you know what to do with. So yeah, we'll give them to all the nonprofits for nothing. And then once we're full, we charge them half price. But that's down the road. So we do what we can to be part of that community, so people recognize us and choose us off over the corporate or those mom and pops that just don't care.
Yeah, and it seems like everything comes full circle, where it's the design, the customer service, and everything to make it warm and probably fill up and get to capacity faster. What is like a good number? What should someone strive to like 85%, 90% full?
90% full is what's correct for premium profits. You hear this guy that says he's been full for 10 years, He's lost millions of dollars by not raising his rents and pulling it back to 90%. Over COVID now, the average actually got up to 95 because we couldn't raise our rents fast enough during COVID to stay at 90%.
Why was that?
Because so many people were renting during COVID.
Okay, so you would make an adjustment, and then it goes up to 95% anyways, and you have to make another adjustment.
We'd have to keep making adjustments. In the last 2 years, I probably made what I made in the 6 years before, because everybody was renting. I don't know why, or I do know why to some, but it's just been amazing. And now that the rates are up, they're not coming down. It's just like, you can read the statistics. House prices and the housing market collapses. 2 years they'll be right back where they are right now. So the prices aren't coming down. And I read something that housing in the last 6 or 7 depressions, only twice did house prices come down, and that was like 2%. So it's the same for self-storage. It's here to stay.
And are there any particular areas of the country that you're excited to recruit franchisees and open in?
Well, most franchisees, we build in their backyard.
Okay.
So because it's easier for them, that's where they live. If I were to tell you where the most profit is, it's where they're charging the most for self-storage, and it's both coasts, of course.
Okay.
Florida, 1,000 people are moving to Florida a day. Nobody's moving to Connecticut every day. So Florida's a great place. Houston just happens to be a great place, or Texas, not because they have the highest rate, but they have a mindset out there to develop and get out of the oil business. So
it's much faster, the permitting process, compared to like Miami-Dade. I think you could get everything locked up and done in like half the time or 40% of the time.
Yeah, but except for California. California is not my favorite, just because land is so expensive, and the state income tax is like 15 to 20% if you start making any kind of money. And there you go. Florida, no state income tax. So you get to save that 15% that would go to the government in California. Sorry, California. But the people that live there, that's where they live.
Yeah, I mean, I think for certain industries, California makes a ton of sense to open in, but for some industries, you got to really be wanting to live there for lifestyle purposes and not necessarily for the financial.
But so it works in every neighborhood. You just got to find that right location and design it, and go through that process. It's simple for me because I've done it so many times. But we try to make it as simple as possible for our franchisees. So, they don't have to make 30 or 40 decisions. We give them, here's the best route. Here's an alternative, but, don't even look at the alternative unless you've got the mindset to take the time and energy to understand them both.
And besides the capital of having like $1 million liquid, what else do you look at to work with a franchisee? Because compared to other franchises where, open a bakery or it's a property management franchise that you're up in like a month, you're spending a lot of your time and you're working together probably in the trenches for like a year and a half, 2 years. So I'm sure there's other factors that are not financial that you look at before you bring on a franchisee.
Yeah, there's three major factors, and financial is an easy one. You have it or you don't.
Yeah.
And then do you have the mindset of the Ritz versus Walmart? But then the next one is, we're looking people that really want to be successful. These are people that have a full-time job, every one of them. So we're looking for somebody that says, yes, I can put in 6 hours a week consistently to get my doors open. It's 6 hours a week. It's got to be a mindset, because that's a lot of time when you've already got your family, you already work 50, 60 hours. But we have a surgeon, and she just decided, I've got the 6 hours. She's going to make it happen. We have IT professionals that manage 30 employees. They just make that decision. This is something I'm going to do for 5 years, and then I'm set for the rest of my life. So that's
well said. So $1 million capital, 6 hours of your time for the first 2 years, and then after that, maybe less time when you have the manager in place.
Yep.
Solid. Not so hard of a commitment.
Well, but you say that because you're entrepreneurial yourself, but most people get home and have the TV from 8 till midnight. We all know that there's only 1 to 3% of the population that
That's
will,
true.
ever build their own business. So, we're always checking, does this person want to own their own business? It's part of those three things. And that's just 1 to 3% of the population. You know, Next year, there's only 500 self-storage is going to be built in the United States. It's not a lot when you talk about, 300 million people. And it might even be less, it might go turn down because people hear all this news and they think, oh, I got to stop. This is when all the people are going to make their big money right now, because it's going to be the real
And
go.
for you guys, you have 6 in design, 8 in construction. Do you have any retirees? Like, so maybe someone's retiring at 60 and they want to move down to Florida, and this is kind of like a smooth retirement.
We actually have a couple like that. They lived in New Jersey and they found the land in Florida. I said, why are you looking for land in Florida? You live in New Jersey. I'm going to retire, this is Jerome. His facility is being bid right now. And he just sold his house up north. He built a new house down south. It's retirement. He's ready to retire right now. He's got enough cash to survive, but this will make it, a gravy train.
Yeah, no, I could see a huge market for this of people in the Northeast that just want to move down south, and this can create a bigger nest egg that could potentially be, I guess, generational wealth.
Well, and that's why I'm doing it. I probably could have made a lot more money quicker building a few self-storages on my own, but I'm in it for life. Our team is in it for life. My kids are part of the team. So it's about generational wealth and for Storage Authority. But you can do the exact same thing with your kids. You can sell it to your kids. Your kids can take it when you pass away. So most of our franchisees are thinking about generational wealth. I would say 90%.
And Mark, do you have any concluding thoughts for someone that wants to get into the self-storage space, or specifically to speak with you further on Storage Authority?
Well, there's a lot of research. It doesn't take long. So, don't even start your research because you're going to be done in a month. If you're thinking about it, make it real. And, there's great resources out there. If you go to our website, www.storageauthorityfranchise.com, look at the FAQs. It's going to give you a whole pile of answers. It's going to tell you the trade magazine for self-storage where you can get third-party input from. So yeah, give us an email, give us a call. We'll send you in the right direction. We don't want to be the only ones telling you how great it is. We want to make sure that you talk to your accountant, you talk to the people outside of our franchise. Yeah, you can talk to our franchise. I know what they're going to say. Greatest thing since sliced apple. But first, do the research on your own. But it's not just about being in self-storage. It's about being in your own business. One day the internet will go down and your manager will call you, and you got to determine, hey, call the internet company, call our IT guy. So there's no perfect business. Some people think I'm just going to open a self-storage and do nothing. Well, that's not the right guy for any business. So make a real commitment. Are you willing to put in 6 hours a week, every week, to give up your job and double your salary with self-storage, or match your salary if you're a doctor? But don't try to do it with 1 or 2 hours a week. It's very difficult.
So if we calculate this, it's like allocating 600 hours of your time and $1 million, and you could have an asset that produces really good cash flow.
Right. And once you're open, your job is to coach your team. You let them know when they're doing something right. You let them know when they're doing something wrong. They have somebody to call if it's something they don't know how to do. They got us. They got you. It makes a lot big profit, more profits when your manager is accountable to you. For the first 5 years of myself when I owned self-storage, I met with my managers every Friday for 1 hour. Because I was learning the business.
They were that cadence.
Right now,
you're setting the culture too.
Yeah,
it's your business.
Right now, I'm ashamed to tell you, I haven't visited my self-storages in 3 years, and I manage them. There's nobody else managing them. I manage them, but now we still have my phone. I get an email from them every day. So, and it wasn't as important now for me to wring out every last penny. If I still lived in Connecticut instead of Florida, would I make 10,000 more? Of course I would. But it's part of the overall picture. The longer you own it, you wonder why.
And with a nice margin business, you have that flexibility where, there is the ideal solution how you should run it, especially if you want to maximize the cash flows. But it's not as cutthroat as like running a restaurant where if you're not doing these things, then you will fail and you're going to close down.
Right. And what you said there, because of what you said there, self-storage is one of the few industries where 90% of all self-storages, 95% of all self-storages are average.
Yeah.
So by us coming in and being above average, that means we just do a few extra things. We're in the top 10%. We do a lot of extra things. We're in the top 3% of all self-storages in the country because they don't do any marketing. They don't do anything extra. They're all average. You won't see that anywhere. They all operate the same. That's why we're excited, is because the sales and marketing and the guerrilla marketing that we do really allows you to charge 30% more, and that allows you to double your profits.
It's huge. Well, Marc, I really appreciate you joining today. I learned a lot about an industry I honestly didn't know much about. And it seems like there are more and more franchise opportunities in the storage space, but a lot of the franchise opportunities are at a low investment threshold that probably are not maximizing profits as you advocate for. We'll be sure to include a link to your website where people can get third-party information on the self-storage space and arrange an introductory call with a member from Marc's team.
Patrick, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having us on, and we wish all your people that are looking for a business opportunity with you find what they need.
Really appreciate it, Marc. Thanks.
All right, thank you.